Hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Ellen Taylor Brown. I'm going to be your moderator for today, and we're going to be talking about veterans in cannabis. I myself am an Air Force veteran. I'm also an educator and an activist. I was honored to be asked to be a part of this panel as a moderator, but what I was even more excited about was that I actually got to handpick my panelists. And these people are here because they are activists in their own right. They're doing a lot for the cannabis community, but even more importantly, they're doing a lot for the veteran community. So if you could all please tell me a little bit about yourself, your branch of service, and then where you are now.
Good afternoon. My name is Kupiec. I'm 32 years old. I was active duty Army for 6 years, from 2005 to 2010 and a half, 3/4, until they kicked me out. I smoked cannabis when I was on active duty. When I came home from Iraq, I didn't want to get drunk with everybody else. I didn't want to do everything else with everyone, you know, what they're doing. So I relied on cannabis to get me through. It got me through a failed marriage. It got me through missing my kid. It got me through all kinds of crazy stuff. And now it's kind of a funny story. 1 year ago to the day, I came down from the hills of Vermont to walk around here. I didn't speak to anybody. I was afraid to chit chat with anybody, and now I'm hanging out with these knuckleheads and talking to you folks, and you know, preaching about cannabis and what we're doing. It's for the veteran community, but it's more so it's for everyone. You know, for vets in the community to get better, that helps the community grow, that helps everything grow. And you know, we're losing veterans day and night, and the way I look at it is we're an untapped resource. Most of us have lived life to a level that, you know, it's, you guys, they make movies about, you know, and myself included. And I got my hero down here, the older gentleman, that's my hero, Jim. You know, but seriously, we're just bringing the fight to the politicians, and I don't know what else to say about myself. Oh, I'm a dad. I'm happy about that, and happy to be here. Happy to be alive. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Sarah Steuf. I'm 28 years old. I'm a retired Army veteran. I did 4 years honorably as a 15 Romeo Apache crew chief. Now I founded Women's Veterans Collective. I'm a NEVA member. I'm also part of Super Closets Outside Growers Program. I'm also Horticulture 1 and 2 certified, and I'm also board secretary for Cannabis Culture Association. And 3 years ago today, I was in and out of hospital beds, in and out of a coma after failed suicide attempts, hooked on cocaine and alcohol, and I am 3 years clean off of all my substances. Thank you. And I'm also going on over 3 years seizure epilepsy free as well, thanks to cannabis. So I am an activist, advocate, and enthusiast, and I'm here today to share my story.
Hi, thanks for sitting there listening, appreciate it. My name is Paul Rifkin. I'm 25 years old in my mind, and 75 in my body, and probably around 100 altogether. I was in the Army before probably a lot of you were born. I was in the Army in 1960 to 1962, and went in a private, and proud to say, came out of private. But I served well though. So what did I do after I went in the Army? Then I lived my life, the rest of my life. And luckily I found marijuana very early in life, and I'll tell you guys all about that as we go down the line.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Treg Osborn. So when the towers fell, I was 16 years old, and I was kind of a sucker because I enlisted the day I was eligible in the United States Marine Corps. So U.S. Marines, reserves, and then 4 years in, I realized that the Marine Corps doesn't really do anything when it comes to education. They're good guys, but not all the smart ones. And so I ended up switching over to the Army. And so I finished out at the Army, National Guard, ultimately got out as a captain 2 years ago, almost. And my wife and my infant son right there. So yeah, anyway, that's baby Dash, he's a good guy. But yeah, so anyway, did the whole Iraq thing in 2010, had a gun truck platoon, took 54 men and women down range. Proud to say I brought 54 men and women home. And now I am a technology consultant during the week, get to fly over the country, and I also teach at the Northeastern Institute of Cannabis. If you want to learn more about cannabis business and how to interview, resumes, all that kind of stuff, come see me at the school. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Derek Cloutier. I am president and co-founder of New England Veterans Alliance. I am a Marine Corps combat veteran. I served in Fallujah, Iraq in 2006 with 125th Marines Alpha Company. My deployment wasn't something super crazy, but it wasn't something super easy. And being away from your family, you know, dealing with things that you shouldn't be dealing with at your age probably is not something easy. And when I got home, I ended up getting a job with the Department of Corrections actually. And I was working with them for a little while, about 5 years, and I had a few incidents down south of the border where it led me to some trouble, and needless to say, I didn't get in trouble. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just from Massachusetts, and they don't like you in Tennessee. But anyway, I came up here, I was drinking a lot when I first got back. I ended up just going through the ringer of the VA, trying to, you know, gain any access to any kind of information, anything for veterans, for benefits, and it just navigating through these circles for veterans and their benefits. I found myself learning how to go through these circles better and how to link to certain people, and I just ended up bringing my friends to those same people and telling them how they should be doing it and how they could get better help. And then eventually turned into this after, you know, months of drinking and fighting and doing things that you absolutely shouldn't be doing. And you know, a friend of mine came up to me. He's also a co-founder. Unfortunately, he can't make it today. He's up in guide service training in Maine. But he suggested that I use cannabis instead of you know, I was probably on about 3 different medications at the time, between Paxil, Prozac, SSRIs, depression meds, anxiety meds, and I was drinking and mixing those together. It just doesn't jive well, and I would just get in trouble. And he said, you know, why don't you smoke some weed? I said, I'll try it, and I did, and I slept like a baby. And you know, not getting sleep for a long time will drive your mind insane. So the sleep helped big time, and then eventually it was like, this is helping us. Like, why don't we do more? And you know, we started talking about getting vets out and doing social activities, like through like Wounded Warrior Project does, but through them we were kind of outcast because we didn't drink, or I did drink, but I didn't want to, and nobody really was accepting of cannabis. And afterwards, you know, we were like, let's do our own thing. So nobody else was doing it, and we ended up doing it. Needless to say, we run this organization, and it's 100% donation driven, and we get vets that come out to our events that are isolated for months on end, and isolation is a huge problem, suicide is a huge problem, and opiates are a huge problem. Those are probably the 3 biggest problems that I can say that veterans are being affected by, and we're just here to try and alleviate that and give them a healthier, easier quality of life. But we'll get more into that. Sorry to take up so much time. Jim, kill it.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. My name is Jim Preston. I'm a 20-year firefighter. I was a Army veteran during the Cold War. I got out in 1980. I got into this by a little over 3 years ago. I fractured 3 vertebrae in my neck, and I was going through some pretty hard times, pretty dark. I live three blocks from the firehouse, listening to the trucks going down the hill, and I can't get on them anymore, and watching my wife have to do pretty much everything for me. And during that time, Sean Judge, who I've known for almost 20 years, we worked together in an ambulance service. back then, back before 9/11, and he saw the dark places I was in, and he reached out, and we started talking, and at the time I was on a fentanyl patch, and 6 Vicodin in a day, and Zoloft, and I was just probably a couple minutes from killing myself and becoming a statistic myself. And then I started thinking, you know, I've seen over 20 years a lot of families go through this, and I didn't want my wife to have to go through it. And I said, you know, something better's got to be out there. And workers' compensation doctors wouldn't do anything, even though I told them I didn't know if I was going to make it home from the doctor's appointment. And so I found cannabis oil. And the first day I took my first dose, I took the patch off, I put everything away. That was last August when I was going to die. And after a week and a half of withdrawal, I woke up to a miracle. And I didn't have to walk with a cane. And after a while, I didn't have to sit in an electric wheelchair. And after almost a year, like you see me now, I can stand up and I can come up here and come out from Connecticut and try to help veterans and a lot of other people. But if we can just do something about the scheduling of this drug. I mean, everybody knows the 22 a day, which is probably maybe half what the actual number is. But if we could do something to get cannabis to be a Schedule 1, out of the Schedule 1, as a first round medication, we could save so many veterans, so many firemen, guys that I know that I've lost 2 close friends to suicide, and a lot of cops wouldn't be shooting themselves in their car either if they had the opportunity to use cannabis instead of opiates or antidepressants. But thank you for being here and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. So my next question for you is, how did you find cannabis, and have you found using it or cultivating it to be therapeutic?
I found cannabis in the ground. It kind of just comes up naturally. But no, I've always smoked. I've always, all through high school and everything. But of course, the military, you know, you can't go into basic training with it in your system and all that and stuff. But I've always smoked, and it's my family kind of. I grew up, half my family was alcoholics, and the other half were potheads. And after the military and after Iraq, I kind of went with the family that I feel like I belonged with, and it's been love ever since. But I grew my own medicine. I don't take anything that the VA was sending me. I told them to stop all that stuff. And I encourage vets. You know, it's like, hey, we don't tell you to stop taking your medication, but give cannabis a chance. And you know, we're all success stories. You know, we've all definitely had our issues with alcohol, drugs, violence, whatever. And yeah, cannabis is it's always been a part of my life. So I keep it going.
Like I said earlier, I'm an epilepsy patient, so I also have PTSD, and I suffer from epilepsy due to a TBI. So a lot of that chemical imbalance caused a lot of aggression and a lot of self-medication and a lot of things that have labels onto them now, but I didn't know at the moment, like PTSD. Originally, I had adjustment disorder, so I just really didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't know what was going on with my mind. And of course, like a lot of other vets that come back, 1 in 5 veterans come back from OEF, OIF with PTSD. And when I came back, I didn't know really what was going on with my body, and I knew that the seizures were just getting worse and worse. So of course, the pills kept piling up, and at one point I was on 13 different medications. So I lived every day of waking up, taking my pills, maybe eating if I felt like it, falling back asleep within 3 to 4 hours, drooling on myself on the couch, and then going back to bed and waking back up. And after a while, I mean, especially with a 3-year-old kid, it got tedious. It just got annoying. I was sick of my life. I was sick of who I was. I felt more worthless and hopeless and pathetic every day. So it got to the point of just like, enough was enough. And I utilized cannabis on and off in high school. Wouldn't even consider myself recreational. It was kind of, if my buddy had it, we went to the woods before school and smoked it, you know? So it wasn't anything even recreational at that time for me. It was just, if we had it, we did it. So when I started getting more and more pills into my body and started feeling more and more disconnected from myself, I realized enough was enough. And at that time, I mean, I already wasn't even successful at suicide. So I was like really at my low. And I had a cousin who was a retired Marine who's an advocate for cannabis, and I thought, you know, maybe plant-based medicine, I should give it a shot, you know? And I went in there, and I'll admit, I didn't approach it the way I should have. I went in there thinking, this is gonna fix my PTSD and my epilepsy, and it's gonna make me better, and I'm gonna be perfect. And it's not like that. I had to put forth the effort to go and seek treatment, to go and get help, to go to the vet centers, and to find other resources in other communities that I can go and be vulnerable and talk in. And what cannabis has allowed me to do is it filled those gaps so that I could be vulnerable, so that I can be open and honest, and so that I can find others within the community that are going through the same crap that I'm going through. And then after a while, I also realized when I did the education on my body and I did the education on the plants itself, I studied kratom, I studied even down to lavender on what it can do for my sleep. And when I realized the different cannabinoids in the plant could each help me in a different way, like CBN can help me relax, CBD can help my convulsions and my inflammatory, THC can help, but too much can get me aggressive. So when I learned the plant and learned my body, I was able to utilize the plant in different ways that I never saw possible. And soon after a while, my PRNs, which are take as needed medications, started coming off my shelf. So I didn't need my nausea meds. I didn't need my PTSD meds, my anxiety meds, my night tremor meds. And then after a while, I was like, what if I could do this with my epilepsy? What if I really can control my seizures and convulsions in a way that I would have my life manageable? And I went back in and I restudied everything, hardcore. And I tampered around with it a little bit, and then after a while, I gave it a shot, and soon enough, I wasn't having seizures, and I wasn't taking my meds. And 8 months ago now, I got off my last and final pill, trazodone. Before that, I was off all other 12. So I'm officially 100% pill-free. I don't even take Tylenol, and that's because I know what this plant can do. I know what plant-based medicine can do. And if we turn back to nature for the answers, we can find the therapeutic properties that it can provide all of us.
Hi again. For those of you who forgot me, congratulations. So, how did I find marijuana? It's not a story I want to tell, but if you force me to, okay, here we go. So, I grew up, I have no excuse actually. I feel like I'm a stranger in a strange panel here because I didn't have, when I was in the Army, it was really, nothing was going on. There was nothing to worry about. There was nothing to get PTSD about or anything else. I just served for a year and a half, and nobody bothered me, and I got out, and that was that. Then I went to a party. I was 20 years old, and I went to a party where I grew up. One thing I am proud of, I want to say, is that my parents weren't alcoholics, nor were they potheads, because when I grew up, there was plenty of alcohol, but there was no marijuana in my community. Nobody had even heard of it. So I found marijuana at this party, which I'll tell you about, all on my own. I made myself into a drug fiend all by myself, without my parents or anyone else trying to make me do it, and I am so proud of it. I'm sitting here telling you I'm a happy man as a drug fiend. So I went to this party, and there was a picture on a wall of a Volkswagen with some streamers coming out behind it. And this young woman came over to me. Her name was Laura Foner. It was 1960. And she had something in her hand I'd never seen before. You know, looked like a cigarette, but she said, "You want to try this?" And she was so beautiful, I would have tried anything. I mean, if she had a gun and said, "Here's the," okay. So I tried it, and by golly, it worked. And what happened to me at that very moment is still in my brain right now, and it's what makes me continue to smoke basically on a daily basis for the last 50 years. And thank you. And the reason that I do that is I like to get high. And I thank you for listening.
So I first encountered cannabis probably in a way that many of you did, not in the 1950s. Much love. It was much more readily available than alcohol when you're in high school. And I think that kind of goes to the reality that people that sell drugs illegally don't check for IDs. So in high school, I pretty much smoked weed the whole time. Actually, when I went to go enlist, I was one of those guys that had to take the home kit prior to going to make sure that I wasn't gonna pop pot before getting in. But anyway, so gave it up from that point on, and then round about the time, about the time I got out of the service, my wife was kind of around cannabis all the time, so I ended up getting more involved at that point. And the thing that was great about it for me was that the VA had me on some meds. If anybody in here has ever taken Effexor, throw it away. It's garbage. It's terrible. And in my case, it made me balloon up to almost 180 pounds, and I stepped on Parasilent at 120. So switching over to cannabis, primarily vaporization, was a good move for me, and I highly recommend it otherwise. So thank you.
So my experience was similar to what everybody else's near high school. I think I was probably, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, and I smoked for about 2 years, and the general stigma of you're lazy and you're not going to do anything, and you know, you got to get a job. It was coming towards the end of graduating from high school, and it was kind of, I was smoking a real lot, and then all the stigma just got to me, and I ended up stopping, but I wasn't addicted to it. I didn't have withdrawals from it, and I stopped cold turkey smoking, and then I worked in, you know, regular blue-collar fields, HVAC, doing things with people that smoke all the time, or the cable company. Those guys smoke a lot. I started working with these guys, and you know, I started smoking again for a little while, and I felt great. And then I was having some problems where I wanted to join. There was a lot of action going on when 9/11 happened. I started getting motivated to join again, and then it really took the first push of Fallujah to really pump me up and get me to want to join. And I found out the local unit was going, and that's when I went. And then I didn't try, like I said, until maybe 2008 or 9, and I started smoking again. I've been smoking nonstop, smoke every day. I mean, I use topicals, I use solves, I use capsules, I use everything and anything that you can possibly do to enrich your endocannabinoid system. I'll use it, I'll do it. And it's not gonna negatively affect me in any way other than a little dry mouth, or I might fight you to get to the next Snickers bar or something. But also, you know, I know a lot of people didn't really mention anything about growing, but the therapeutic quality of growing for me has been something that, you know, I grew my first outdoor plants last year, and I just did a couple of them, and they came out really good, and I was surprised. Just, it's amazing to be able to keep something alive when you think you're not really that bright, and you just, you know, to be able to put something in the ground, grow it, take care of it. I mean, you take care of it. I got up, I put blankets over it because it was too cold in October, and before I had to cut it down, and I mean, you take care of it. I got up every morning, put it to bed every night, and then now I have a little indoor grow going on, and of myself, about 3 plants that I got, but they're going awesome. And just to be able to heal yourself and grow something and heal yourself, it's like a full circle effect where it just, I don't know, there's nothing therapeutic than being able to grow something from dirt with a little bit of light and water, and then, I mean, a little more than that, but, and then to actually heal yourself with it, and to use it to make yourself feel better, to make yourself go from, you know, 1,000 miles an hour to, you know, just focus and get shit done, pardon my French. But it's what it does, it's trick for me. I mean, it's been awesome, and I can't express it. We've talk to veterans, and we pump them out, tell them to, you know, you should be growing your own, try and get them self-sufficient, try and get them to grow their own medicine. And I mean, I'm sure Jim can follow up with stuff like that. He's been doing really good things, and we've been just doing really good things ourselves. Don't believe. But anyway, but teaching guys how to consult themselves and to consult them on growing, get them started has been amazing. It's been therapeutic, and I mean, it's saved my life. I wouldn't be here today doing this, sitting in front of all you guys, if it wasn't for cannabis. But here, Jim.
I'm just going to pick this up because due to the fact that we are unable to medicate through this whole day today, it's a little bit painful. But first thing I want to say is I love you, man, and you need to go on the road with that show because the Cannabis comic is you, man, and it'd be like outstanding. That's it. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, like guys, a lot of these guys, I mean, I smoked for most of my life, you know, on and off through high school and stuff, and then I went in the military, got out, then became a fireman, and you know, that's kind of frowned upon in that trade. And so first I was a crew chief for a commercial ambulance service. That's how I met Sean Judge, and that was back before 9/11. And I just wanted to say thank you. But after my injury, I really had to find something, and I mean, one thing I always say is, hey man, it's not like smoking a joint back behind band class when you're in high school. I mean, this is science. This is medicine. I mean, it's just unbelievable what it can do. I mean, I could do nothing. I was in the fetal position on the couch all the time, and with the oil, I can take care of myself. And from the things I've learned from these guys, I'm from Connecticut, and it's illegal to grow in Connecticut. So I don't grow, but let's just say I do pretty well with tomatoes. But but the techniques and the things that I've learned are so therapeutic, along with being able to help yourself make your own medicine. And just the therapeutic effect of the medicine and taking care of the plant, and all of it is just, it equals health. The plant all together, it just promotes homeostasis, equalization of life. So many different things that I've noticed since I've been using the oil. Like my father before me, I got skin tears. I know that I see a couple people out there in the audience are probably old enough that actually know what that is. But it's if you bump into something, your skin actually tears and you bleed. I play with the dogs. I would bleed. I get scratched. I would bleed. Since I've been using the oil, it has never happened ever again. So that's just another effect of the medicine. But I'm just happy that I found it. I'm happy I found these guys, and I'm glad to be here because smoking that joint behind band class, never in my life did I think I would see this while I was here, and I'm so happy I am. Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing your stories. So I'm going to ask you next is, what advice would you give veterans that are interested in using cannabis, but they're afraid to because of the stigma?
Now it's on. Advice to give veterans. Come talk to NEVA, New England Veterans Alliance, first. Depending on the state you live in, I live in Vermont. Cannabis has always been the counterculture in Vermont, but as of recently, Massachusetts has way more play than Vermont does, and that breaks my heart. And I mean, I really don't. The laws are one thing, and health and welfare is another. But when it comes to veterans, because it's so specific to their situation, their VA claim, they know their doctors better than we do. All I can say is vets have to be very, very tactical as of right now, depending where they live. They have to be very smart about how they say it. You know, one thing they always teach is, you know, situational awareness and situation dictates, and, you know, be smart and talk to guys who have been through the system, talk to vets who are service connected, and get the lowdown before you jump into the fight, because you just want to always cover your ass, always. So
for educating about the stigma, like I said earlier, when we come back home, a lot of veterans, OEF, OIF veterans come back, and 1 in 5 face PTSD. So within itself, a lot of veterans are facing stigmas in regards to PTSD, substance abuse. You know, we're those angry drug addicts or those angry violent people. So there's a lot of stigmas that we're facing in regards to just coming home that we weren't prepared for and the community wasn't prepared for. So to throw cannabis in that mix makes it like a whole nother whirlwind. So to find a community like this, it's really supportive and it provides a lot of education and knowledge as well as comfort. But for yourself, I mean, the important thing is you have to go and you have to get educated. You have to get educated about yourself, what's going on with your body, whether or not psychological, physical, mental, whatever, we all come back with different issues and sometimes a multitude of them for us. So you have to first and foremost educate yourself on your body, seek the proper treatment, whether it's through a group or going to like the vet center and finding a counselor and educating about the plant. You're gonna face stigmas on that plant, but you're not going to go and face those stigmas and I hate to use the word attack, but you're not going to be able to combat those stigmas if you're not educated about it. So if you don't put forth the effort to understand the plant and understand how it can work in your body, you're part of that stigma. You're part of the naivety and ignorance that's driving us away from the research and advancements that could be taking part in our lives. And as a veteran in itself, I know right now they don't consider anecdotal evidence as evidence, and we've talked about it, Ellen's brought it up. Anecdotal evidence is evidence. So as a veteran, get out to the community, talk to your other veterans. You know, all of us are all different, so what works for me may not work for you, and what's best for me may not be best for you, but finding other like-minded individuals and other people to draw on that support and education and knowledge is key to us to get rid of the stigmas and make advancements.
She can get some applause, perhaps. Daggone it, come on, folks. So, what do I have to say now? Well, holy jeez, who knows? I didn't plan any of this. I think you guys all think I was up all night writing this stuff. But if I were to give some advice to veterans, it would be to get out on the street and be proud. And I've marched 100 times with an organization in Boston here called Veterans for Peace. They have a really wonderful chapter called the Smedley Butler Brigade. And these guys are not only out on the street demonstrating for causes they believe in, but they're also doing it high as you can imagine. So it's going out on the street, getting stoned, speaking your mind, and often we do civil disobedience out there and we get arrested for our causes and stuff. I personally, I know you're not going to believe it by looking at me like a little Jewish boy that I am. I've been arrested 7 times, and 5 of those were. How can you applaud that? There's some aberrant people here who would be applauding that. I've been arrested 7 times. 5 of them were for political things, civil disobedience, for whatever cause I was on. 2 times was for what we used to call youthful indiscretions, which means I blew smoke and there was a policeman standing there. So anyway, what I recommend is, I was told not to mention anything about politics here, and I certainly am not going to, except for one thing. We're now facing a lot of difficulty, in my mind, in America regarding Veterans Affairs, regarding marijuana, and a lot of other things. And I think veterans would do well, and not only veterans, but people who believe in marijuana as a medical and just for the good old time's sake type of activity. They need to make their voices known. The Attorney General that we have now may try to close down all the states' rights that we're now living under for marijuana. And the administration in general is going to do what other administrations have done, which is like to make believe veterans don't need anything and not pay heed to them. So I would recommend for both veterans and everyone else Get out, make your voice heard, and don't be afraid. And there's no stigma to any of that.
So I echo what the other panelists up here have gone over, but I would also say, when it comes to stigmas, again, having a group of people that you can affiliate with and actually commiserate with is definitely going to be helpful, like-minded individuals. Obviously having causes, getting out there is good. But one of the reasons sometimes, justly or unjustly, people run into adversity is because the assumption is that they are a stereotype. So what I usually advise veterans, especially veterans coming back that are out of the service, is just don't be a stereotype. Realistically, go to work every day, get up, get out there, look decent. You don't have to be super polished, but if you're a reliable employee, you're getting to work every day, you're good to your family, you're good to your community, what stigma? So the more of us that function that way, along with getting out there and along with being a part of your community, we eliminate the stigma over time. And that's usually the way I like to do things. Thank you.
So, advice. Any advice I would say, just do it, first of all. Just get some weed, smoke it, and get some seeds and grow it. That's my first advice. Second is part of what Paul was talking about, civil disobedience. You can still do a little civil disobedience in your own home, just grow your own weed. And you're gonna like it, you're gonna feel good, you're gonna like growing it. It's just like these guys all just said, and ladies, it's making it normal, talking about it, educating people on it, educate yourself on it. If you're skeptical about it, educate yourself. There's millions of research out there, videos. You want to YouTube University it, go ahead and do it. It's there. You can find the information if you look hard enough. And then on top of that, you have firsthand experience from people like Jim, like Paul, like Treg. It's hard to say your name sometimes. Sarah, Corey, all these people, they're talking to you, they're telling you their experience, they're telling you it works. It's about time that the government and these other people, I don't know who else it would be, really. I try not to be governmental, but it's time that they need to listen to the people that are actually being affected by this. And we're just trying to get out there and be a voice for veterans. I know that I personally drive around all over New England meeting up with veterans day in, day out, from time to time, about their issues and hearing what they're going through. And everyone is different, but every single one is pretty much similar. It's a similar thing that has brought them to isolation, a similar thing that has made them want to kill themselves or think about killing themselves. You go on all these pills today, half of them say you're going to have suicidal tendencies or ideation or whatever. All of them. It's not cool. Do you want a healthy life? Smoke some weed.
Mainly my advice is 2 words. Reach out. If you're feeling depressed, if you're thinking about hurting yourself, reach out. And it doesn't have to be to these big corporate entities that we all know about. Look to your grassroots groups in your state. Groups like us. If you're a veteran in need, you can get a hold of one of us, one of the top 3 people in this organization at any time. You'll speak to a veteran, not somebody that's hired by a veterans group to work there. You'll speak to a veteran. And the medicine is great. Just reach out. It's just like a lot of things. I've heard 9/11 mentioned so many times here. My first day in New York City was the Sunday after 9/11. And so many things has happened since then. And I've lost so many guys to suicide, to the opiates. And I told the chief an event for a fireman with cancer on Long Island last weekend. I wish I had known what I know now, because 2 years ago his son died of an opiate overdose because of injuries that he sustained. And I said, I wish I knew, because maybe I could have done something for Joey. But the thing is, reach out, man. Just look for that ground roots organization in your area. Those are the ones that are going to care about you, not the ones that pay multi-million dollars to CEOs. Look for somebody out there that's really there to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, great advice. We have time for one question. Does anybody have a question for our panelists? Anybody want to come on? All right, and so on that note, what we're going to do is just kind of final thoughts from our panelists. Anything that we didn't touch upon that you'd like to touch upon, or how can people find you after this panel? Where can we go?
Well, most of us are wearing the same shirts, New England Veterans Alliance. We have a booth. I don't know how many rows over there, but it's, come find us. We'll start yelling. You'll find us. 210?
210. Yeah, add 420 divided by 2. We'll take 420 divided by 2. 210. 210.
We're totally plastered all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't do that stuff. Derek does that stuff. I find it quite annoying. But you know, any final things, go out and get in your politician's face. They don't. You guys, you know, I hate politicians. I absolutely can't stand them. But because of Derek and because of the New England Veterans Alliance and because of going to funerals, 3 in the last year because of opiates, I go to the Vermont State House. I got escorted by VPR, which is National Public Radio, and brought to all the politicians that didn't want to talk about it. I got put in their face and they didn't walk away from me. And it felt good. It felt damn good for them to hear me. And make your voice heard. That's the most you can do. So, or you can start a fire.
That's the one thing I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say too. It's like I tell everybody about 9/11 and the fact that we lost over 2,000 people, volunteers, firefighters, police officers since 9/11 to the cancers. I tell guys, talk to somebody. If I talk to 5 people and you talk to 5 people, just like this, just like veterans and opiates, and just like getting cannabis rescheduled out of the Schedule 1 rating. Talk to people. You talk to 5 people. They talk to 5 people. We can make this happen. Thank you.
Women's Veterans Collective, you can find online on Twitter and on Facebook. I also have an alias, Happy Healing 420, which I do a lot of educational and information for veterans. But what I wanted to say about the grassroots movement, we keep pounding on Schedule 1 drug and DEA and FDA. Go out into your local communities. You can talk to your mayors, go out to your local committees, get rid of distribution, paraphernalia, all these little things that are only hurting the patients and the caregivers and keeping the dealers all fine and dandy and safe. Go out into your local communities. Go out, talk to your mayors, talk to your committees, get out, get the proper education into our school systems before our kids get whatever education is now. Yeah, we're not gonna go there, but get out there into your local communities, make changes at the local grassroots level, and we don't have to sit there and wait for a Schedule 1 drug to change, because it'll come because they'll see the changes at the grassroots. So.
I'd like to try to bring you guys into this discussion. I just have one simple question. Please raise your hand if you're stoned right now. Good, thank you. I was afraid that no one was going to raise their hand, and then I was thinking I might be in the wrong auditorium or something. But that was nice. I just want to say something. Mother Teresa said this thing that really touched me. She said, most of the problems that we're facing nowadays are based on the fact that people don't feel like they belong to each other. And if I could say any close to parting words, I would ask that we try to all feel, act, and believe that we do belong to each other. And in that regard, if you are willing and able, if you would just look at the person next to you and tell them that you love them, that'd be a start. And if you don't like the looks of that person, look at somebody else. And what I'm going to do, with permission, is someone said they loved me here. And other than the mustache, this guy looks just like that girl who offered me my first joint. I want to go give him a hug. Thank you.
We're feeling the love up here. I was a little surprised. I figured there'd be more hands go up, realistically, but
stand by.
Yeah, stand by to stand by. So I'd like to echo everything that everybody else said up here, pretty much, but also say, you know, yes, we belong to each other, but the natural progression of that is we all have skills, we all have things that we can do, and build your communities and figure out where you can help each other and where you can help and where they can help you. I like to work with veterans when it comes to things like their resumes, their cover letters, polishing them up, helping them get employment, because one of the fastest ways to not die from despair is to have a reason to live. Cannabis is a big part of that, as far as I'm concerned. It's definitely a big part of it. But gainful employment, or at the very least your VA benefits, things like that, you know, helping each other out, and that's, I'm actually ashamed to say I'm not a NECANN member today. I will be before I leave. And, but help each other out. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Parting words, parting words. So, I mean, you've heard a lot come out of my mouth, and I'm not the best public speaker in the world. I apologize for that. But we tend to say things, vets, we tend to say things how they are. We don't sugarcoat things a lot of the time. We hold a lot of people accountable on things, and sometimes you have to hold yourself accountable, and you have to do the right thing for yourself, not just because it's the law or because you're trying to follow rules or whatever it is. Sometimes you just have to do the right thing for you. And I don't even know why, but I'm getting a little choked up right now. It's when you do the right thing is going to happen to you. And when I tell you guys, get out, grow your own, you know, smoke your own, you know, I'm telling you to do that within your means, within the means of what you need. I don't grow 400 plants in my house. I grow 3 because I don't need more than that. I can probably grow more than you with 1 plant than you can with 3. I don't know. But if you do it right. Reach out to us. Like Jim said, the biggest thing is reach out to somebody that's going through something that's similar to what you might be going through. And you might not think that they exist, but they do. As a veteran organization, that's what we try to do, is link guys to other veterans that are going through what they're going through. We consult guys, help them with growing. We hold social enrichment activity events, getting guys linked with caregivers that actually care about them, products that are actually clean, no pesticides, you know, all organic. Try to get them the best quality things there are. And come see us, booth 210, say hi, buy a shirt, support our mission, and thank you for hearing us all out. How many veterans are actually here? Let me see that hand. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your service.
My parting thoughts are, thing is, most of us here, we're illegally healed because we can't heal ourselves legally in our states. And that's a sad thing. That's a really sad thing. So that's what we need to fix. Very proud to be here. Thank you.